The ballroom of Ashford Dynamics was glowing with sunlight pouring through towering glass windows as employees gathered for the annual Excellence Luncheon. The company's celebrated CEO, Meredith Harlow, smiled proudly as she announced that the firm's brightest rising star, Celia Whitmore, had been selected as Employee of the Year. As a surprise, Meredith revealed that she had personally invited Celia's father to the celebration and private lunch that would follow. Everyone expected an elderly retired professor, a decorated veteran, or perhaps a respected businessman. Instead, when the dining room doors slowly opened, Meredith's smile vanished. Her hands trembled. The man walking toward the table carrying a worn leather jacket over his arm was the one person she had sworn she would never face again. He was a struggling single father. He was the man she blamed for destroying her family 20 years earlier. Before this incredible story unfolds, if you believe kindness is stronger than hatred, forgiveness is more powerful than revenge, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community that believes hope can change lives. Meredith Harlow had built her reputation on precision, discipline, and impossible standards. She had rescued failing companies, transformed industries, and become one of the youngest CEOs in the country's history. Newspapers admired her confidence. Investors admired her courage. Employees admired her fairness, even when they feared disappointing her. Few people knew that behind her calm voice lived a woman who had spent 2 decades carrying a wound that success had never healed. As a teenager, Meredith had watched her father's engineering company collapse after a disastrous bridge construction project. The newspapers blamed one employee whose safety inspection allegedly missed a catastrophic structural flaw. Lawsuits followed. Her father lost everything, including his health. He died believing a careless coworker had destroyed both the company and his family. Meredith had memorized one name from those headlines. Rowan Beckett. That name had become the symbol of everything she hated. Meanwhile, Celia Whitmore never imagined that the proud father she invited to lunch had any connection to her employer's painful past. Celia had grown up in a tiny house outside the city after her mother died when Celia was only 6 years old. Her father, Rowan Beckett, worked countless temporary jobs. He repaired bicycles, painted fences, fixed broken plumbing, delivered furniture, and even cleaned construction sites whenever work was available. Every dollar he earned went toward keeping food on the table and books in Celia's backpack. He rarely bought anything for himself. His boots were years old. His truck rattled every morning. But he never missed one of Celia's school concerts, science fairs, or graduation ceremonies. He constantly reminded her that honest work mattered more than impressive titles. Because of his sacrifices, Celia earned scholarships, graduated near the top of her class, and eventually joined Ashford Dynamics as a junior analyst. Within 3 years she became known for solving impossible problems while treating everyone with respect, from interns to custodians. Meredith admired Celia's talent so much that she personally mentored her. Everything changed the instant Rowan stepped into the dining room. Meredith recognized him immediately despite the gray hair and weathered face. Rowan looked equally shocked, though not because he recognized a famous executive. He recognized the frightened young girl whose family had once collapsed in front of the entire country. The room became strangely quiet. Employees sensed tension they couldn't explain. Meredith struggled to breathe. Every painful memory returned at once. Her father's exhausted face. Their house being sold. The whispers at school. The funeral. She almost cancelled the luncheon, but years of discipline forced her to remain composed. She welcomed Rowan with polite professionalism that barely concealed the storm inside her heart. Celia noticed the unusual stiffness between them but assumed it was simple awkwardness. During lunch, conversations drifted toward childhood memories, career journeys, and personal sacrifices. Rowan spoke humbly about raising Celia alone after losing his wife to illness. He described teaching his daughter resilience instead of bitterness because bitterness only creates new victims. Meredith listened without emotion. She wondered how someone capable of ruining another family could speak so peacefully about integrity. eventually curiosity overcame restraint. She quietly asked Rowan whether he had once worked for Harlow Infrastructure. The color drained from Celia's face. Rowan slowly nodded. The room fell silent again. Everyone sensed history had entered the conversation. Meredith finally spoke the question that had lived inside her for 20 years. She asked how he managed to live with himself after destroying her father's company. No one moved. Celia stared at her father with complete confusion. Rowan lowered his eyes. Not from guilt but from sadness. He explained that he had asked himself that question every day for years because almost nobody had believed the truth. Meredith's anger rose. She thought excuses were coming. Instead, Rowan reached into his worn leather folder and carefully removed several faded documents protected inside clear sleeves. He admitted he had carried them almost everywhere because someday he hoped someone would finally ask. The papers included inspection reports bearing his signature. They clearly warned management that the bridge design contained dangerous flaws. Additional letters showed he repeatedly requested construction delays until the defects were corrected. Every request had been denied. The final page contained a termination letter. He had been fired before the bridge officially failed because he refused to sign a false safety certification. Meredith stared at the papers. None of them matched the story she had believed. All her life, Rowan quietly explained that after refusing to approve unsafe work, executives searching for someone to blame accused him publicly. Since he lacked money for lawyers, the accusations became accepted as fact. Reporters repeated the company's statements. His reputation disappeared overnight. Every employer rejected him afterward. He lost his career. Soon afterward his wife became seriously ill. Medical bills consumed their savings. After her death, he focused only on raising Celia with honesty despite carrying a reputation he never deserved. Meredith felt her carefully built certainty beginning to crack. Still, she needed proof beyond old paperwork. She quietly asked the company's legal department to investigate archived court records and engineering files. The luncheon ended. Awkwardly, employees returned to work whispering. Celia walked beside her father in silence, wondering whether everything she believed about both him and her employer was about to change forever. Over the next several days, Meredith could barely concentrate. She reviewed historical documents herself. Independent engineering reports confirmed Rowan's warnings. Internal executive emails revealed that senior leaders had intentionally hidden safety concerns to avoid financial losses. Most devastating of all, Meredith discovered something that shattered her heart. Her own father had never blamed Rowan. A handwritten journal found among old family records described Rowan as the only engineer brave enough to oppose dangerous decisions. Meredith's father believed Rowan had been sacrificed to protect powerful executives. He had intended to clear Rowan's name. Illness claimed his life before he could finish the legal battle. Meredith sat alone in her office during a bright afternoon with tears she had suppressed for 20 years. She realized she had inherited everyone else's anger instead of her father's compassion. The enemy she had imagined had actually been another victim. The following week Meredith requested a company-wide daytime assembly. Hundreds of employees gathered beneath the sunlight filling the headquarters atrium. No one knew why. Rowan reluctantly accepted another invitation, believing perhaps another painful confrontation awaited him. Instead, Meredith walked onto the stage carrying a thick folder. Her voice trembled. She publicly admitted that history had judged an innocent man unfairly. She explained the investigation. She presented the evidence. She apologized to Rowan before every employee, not because public relations demanded it, because justice demanded it. Many people cried as Rowan quietly accepted the apology without triumph or resentment. He admitted that carrying hatred would have stolen the little happiness his daughter brought into his life. Forgiveness had been the only reason he survived. Meredith announced something even more extraordinary. Ashford Dynamics would establish the Beckett Integrity Fellowship, an annual scholarship honoring professionals who refused to compromise public safety regardless of personal cost. The scholarship would bear Rowan's name permanently. The applause lasted several minutes. Celia watched her father receive the standing ovation he should have received decades earlier. For the first time in many years, Rowan stood completely upright, no longer carrying invisible shame. After the ceremony, Meredith visited her father's grave that same sunny afternoon. She placed fresh flowers beside the headstone. She quietly admitted she had misunderstood everything. Although no words answered her, peace finally settled over her heart. The weight she had carried since childhood slowly disappeared. In the months that followed, Meredith changed more than company policies, she changed herself. She became less interested in quick judgments and more willing to hear difficult truths. Managers received training emphasizing empathy alongside accountability, anonymous reporting. Systems protected employees who raised safety concerns. The company's culture became stronger because honesty was rewarded rather than punished. Rowan accepted a role as an ethics advisor, not because he wanted prestige but because he wanted young professionals to understand that integrity sometimes carries a painful price, yet it remains priceless. Celia continued excelling in her career, though what made her proudest was no longer her awards. It was seeing her father smile freely again. Neighbors noticed he laughed more. He fixed old bicycles for neighborhood children simply because he enjoyed helping. He planted flowers outside his modest home. The man who had spent years surviving finally began living. Meredith often reflected on the irony that the employee she admired most had unknowingly led her toward healing the oldest wound in her life. She realized that success could build companies, but only forgiveness could rebuild hearts. Before this story comes to its close, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us whether you believe forgiveness is earned, freely given, or something that grows only after the truth is finally revealed. Your thoughts may encourage someone who is carrying a burden they no longer need to bear. Years later, visitors entering Ashford Dynamics often paused beside a bronze plaque near the entrance. It did not celebrate profits, awards, or famous executives. Instead, it carried a simple message inspired by Rowan's life: character is revealed when doing the right thing costs everything. Employees passed those words every morning. Many never knew the remarkable story behind them, but Meredith, Celia, and Rowan remembered every detail. A dinner meant to honor one employee became the day 3 lives were transformed forever. A daughter discovered the full measure of her father's courage. A CEO uncovered the truth buried beneath decades of pain. And a single father who had lost almost everything finally received the one thing he never stopped hoping for: not wealth, not revenge, but the restoration of his good name. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that the truth may take years to be heard, kindness may seem quiet compared to anger, and forgiveness is never a sign of weakness. Sometimes, it is the greatest act of strength a human heart can choose.